Hello, Mr. Paul here, and in this video I'm back with another beautiful illustration of a keyboard there, and I wanted to go over some black keys. So hopefully you watched the last one where we learned about D being in the doghouse and our grandma's house, front door, grandma, apple pie, back door, that whole thing. So I'm counting on you knowing that already, but now we need to figure out what to call these black notes here, or these black keys, okay? So this is when we start introducing the idea of sharps and flats, all right? So you might have seen something in your music, maybe a C sharp, as that little pound sign. Or you might have seen something like a B flat, and you get that little kind of baby B in there, right? So what we need to know is that sharps go up. Oh, here, I'll put this over here. Sharp, let me make sure that's on the camera. Yeah, you can see that. So that hashtag thing is a sharp, and it goes up. I'll explain what that means in a second. Then our flats, it's actually kind of like a half heart shape, not to be confused with a B, and they go down, all right? So if we're thinking of our keyboard in terms of going up in pitch, we're moving to the right. So I'm going up the keyboard or to the right, because that's up in pitch. Then I can go down the keyboard or down in pitch, which just happens to be to the left. So that could be a little confusing. Up is right, down is left, in a weird way. So if you're an adult and you drive a car and you use a blinker, your turn signal, this is nothing new to you. But for a kid, that could be a little confusing. So if they're getting a little mixed up, say trust your ears, Which way, where's your highest note? Up here? Okay, where's your lowest note? Down there, and they can usually think in those terms, all right? So C. If I sharp it, I'm gonna end up on this black key to the right of it, or up the keyboard. So I could call this note here C sharp. So if I'm on C, I move up one half step, which we haven't talked about, but that's just one key to the next. No skipping allowed, and I end up on C sharp, okay? So D, if I move this note up to here, I get D sharp. All right, let's keep doing this. So F becomes F sharp. G becomes G sharp. Then A becomes A sharp. Then where I got this thick line, it just all starts over again. Okay, C, C sharp. D, D sharp. F to F sharp. G to G sharp. A to A sharp. Now you might notice there's no flats written in here, and that could be a little confusing. So let's think about this. I said flats go down or to the left of the keyboard, right? So this C sharp, well, there's a D on the other side of this black key, and if I went flat, I would call it D flat. So it turns out I could also call this note D flat. So is it C sharp or is it D flat? The answer is it's both. So it kind of depends on the music that you're playing and how they're gonna use it there. Might seem a little silly at first, like we don't really need two things to describe the same note, but we would call them enharmonically equivalent, which is our fancy way of saying it is in fact the same pitch that we are hearing there, right? So let's go ahead and figure that out for the rest of these. So D sharp could also be E flat. F sharp could also be G flat. Let's see, G sharp could also be A flat. Sorry, I think I might have misspoke on the last one. F sharp is G flat, G sharp is A flat, and A sharp could also be B flat there, all right? So those notes can be described two different ways. It just kind of depends on which direction we're coming at them from. Am I talking about an A, then I want to go a half step up? Okay, I'm gonna call it A sharp. Am I talking about a B, but I want to go to a half step down? I'm gonna call it B flat. So the more you learn about scales and just some more theory in general, the more that's gonna make sense. Just know that you can kind of describe those notes either way. And in most theory, or most educational books rather, they're gonna start you off with like one sharp, maybe they'll throw in two, or they'll throw in like one flat. So you might notice like an F sharp will sneak into the music eventually, then a B flat will sneak into the music eventually, then we'll start adding more from there. So as we go through circle fifths in the future, that'll make a little more sense why maybe we'd pick F sharp as our first sharp to add, or B flat as our first flat to add into these things. And that has to get into key signatures. So real quick before I wrap this up, we could technically say that E to F is a half step, so we could call it F E sharp. And by that logic, I could call E F flat. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a black key to be described as flat or sharp. Now, will we normally call an F an E sharp? No, that's kind of ridiculous, right? But when we get into like really deep theory, sometimes there might be cases where that does make a little more sense to think of it that way. So when we get into scale theory, we talk about that more. Then one last thing that you don't really need to know, but it'll pop up way, way down the line, is there such a thing as double sharps and double flats. So if I have a double sharp, it kind of looks like an X, and I'm going to go up twice. Then they didn't do anything as clever for the double flat. It's just two flats, and we're going to go down twice. So C could go to C sharp, but then if I sharp it again, I could call this note C double sharp. Or B, I could flat it once to get B flat, or if I flat it again, I end up here, and that's B double flat. So that's pretty confusing and something you're not going to have to worry about for a while, but I figured I would throw it in here. For now, all you need to know is sharps go up, so C to C sharp, flats go down, D to D flat, and sometimes, these black keys, these black keys are going to be able to be defined two different ways, and don't let that mess with you too much. All right, I hope that helped. See you on the next one.